So I'm Mike Harlington. I'm the chair of the Cannabis Trades Association, which is also the Hemp Trades Association. That's our legal name. We were formed in 2016 as part of the MHRA crackdown on CBD products at the time. We were the first people to ever see the MHRA. We facilitated the meeting for Aya to go on behind us, and essentially we were the people that originally interacted with the MHRA to make sure that we had a reasonable way of selling CBD products. That's how we were formed. The vast majority of our members at that point in time sold CBD products, and they still do. We're now the largest association in the world, over 900 members and counting. We see an average of 3 new applicants every day, and continue to reject one, accept one, and work with the other one to make sure that people comply with the industry, keep on complying with the industry, because that's the only way that the industry will actually survive. CTA's value in the industry is working with the only accredited board, the only accredited trade association in Europe. It is very, very, very simple. So we are pretty much cannabinoid specific across the industry. We're not quite so centred around the hemp industry. We're more centred around the foods and the medicines industry. As part of that, we're the only government the only government recognised body. We deal, as I say, with the vast majority of the government departments, so the Home Office, the Department of Health, the MHRA, the FSA, the EFSA, NICE, and dozens upon dozens of other people that we interact with, and not always publicly. An awful lot of what we do, we've never ever been one for going out there and taking photos of where we are this week, which I don't know whether it's a downfall or whether it's a very positive thing. We're not one for shouting about our connections. The fact of the matter is that we're the only people mentioned in government guidelines. We're the only people that can actually make sure that what you do is correct to the letter of the law, and we don't split hairs about that. We only have one area where we will allow a letter of the law to be split, and that's the whole 0.2% THC rule. Essentially, the CTA stands for making sure that we have a safe, legal, legitimate and regulated industry, because if we don't have that, you won't be in business. The CTA, as we've already said, is around cannabinoids, primarily around cannabinoids. It's the only association in the world that actually is primarily around cannabinoids. The reason that we're so successful is because we're a business. We're set up as a business, although we're a non-profit organisation. So no one involved in that actually makes any money. We do it for the love, apparently. But the CTA is about making sure that your businesses out there trade properly, trade effectively, and trade as you should be doing, with proper, compliant products. That's really it. That's what the CTA is about. You also get, of course, the wonderful Happy Me that goes around and talks to lots of people in lots of countries on your behalf. But you do get a full team of 8 people sat in an office, or sat in offices around Europe now, working on your behalf to make sure that if you have a problem, that we can solve it. We're the 18 of the cannabis industry. The MHRA is the Medicines and Healthcare Regulatory Authority. They are the people who issue licenses to sell medicines. They are also the people who don't like it when you make medicinal claims. They come along with a very nasty form that tells you must stop, and if you don't stop they will jump on you with another form, which is a section 16.5 I think, which tells you they're going to put you out of business. And at one point in time the MHRA would work with you until you complied. Now they go 2 strikes and you're out. They've just taken that decision because they now have a very, very, very strong relationship with the CTA, and as part of that relationship, they now, since they included us in Guidance Note 8, they are very much of the opinion that you should talk to the CTA first. We have the only guidelines for any membership organisation in Europe written in conjunction with the MHRA and the FSA. If you're going to talk to the CTA, understand that we won't sugarcoat things, we won't tell you how to do things, we will tell you how to comply. And if you're coming to see the CTA, the first thing I always say to anyone coming to see us is talk to our membership. There are a considerable number of the companies that will be there in September are CTA members. Indeed, one of the things that we're making sure of this year is that every CTA member has a CTA flag on their stand. Talk to those guys. They're founders, they're directors, they're ordinary members, they're small guys, they're big guys, they're everything in between. Then come and see us. What we stand for is to make sure that you do your job properly. I don't care if you don't know anything about cannabinoids. In some cases, I'd actually prefer it if you didn't. I want you to make sure that you are compliant. That's our job, is to make sure you are compliant and that your products are compliant. Part of that is the whole Cannabis thing going forward, which I'm sure everyone's seen in the various places it's been reported this week and going forward. Come and listen to what Cannabis is all about. It's separate from the CTA, but we endorse it fully, we help develop it. But come and understand what the CTA is about. It's not about stopping you doing something that you should be doing, it's about making sure that what you should be doing is not about to be stopped. And start thinking, of course, about how we actually represent the industry, because no one else is going to Europe, no one else is making sure that your products are seen as legal, and no one else has an agreement, however slight it may be with the FSA, that they're going to listen to the fact that you're a CTA member. If I was telling someone to come to the show, it would be to learn. Education, education, education. Come in, see how the industry is actually operating, get yourself around the various sellers and the various products that are there, and understand what it's about. There is an awful lot of very, very, very good education out there. There is an awful lot of very bad education out there. Come along, see what it's about, understand what it's about, and if you are, like many people are now, coming into the industry with fairly successful businesses behind them and looking at coming into the CBD market, understand what you can, what you can't do, understand the products that are out there, but absolutely, above anything else, make sure that before you buy a product and you jump into it, make sure it's legal, because there are an awful lot of products on the market in the UK and Europe that are not legal. I'm independent of the industry, always have been. My induction into this industry wasn't via CBD, it was via cannabis. I was a Home Office approved grower, working in conjunction with the Home Office, and my background into this is actually lighting and hydroponics. My background is stage lighting and LED lighting. I developed lighting that is very, very, very important now, as we know, for the cannabis industry. As part of that, we got involved in research projects, so we've seen many, many, many commercial operations around the world where the lighting that we designed is actually in operation, making sure that cannabis grows properly. As part of that, I have a huge amount of knowledge about how to grow things and how to carry on growing things. And the one thing that the industry actually quite lacks, and this is an international thing, is there are an awful lot of people coming into the industry that are not professional horticulturalists. They don't actually understand that what you need to do to make a standardised or relatively standardised plant into a medicine or whatever. And so the CTA, and me in particular, have a great deal of interest in that. And as part of that, one of the things that we are expanding into, and one of the things that I have a particular interest on, is making sure that as people plant plants, thinking that they're just going to grow into this miraculous thing, just how valuable the ecosystem is, and how valuable it is to actually make sure that you are professional with that. One of our very first members stood at Cannabis at Canatech 2 years ago now and said, "You're all a bunch of bloody crooks," to however many farmers there were present. And he isn't wrong. The industry as a whole needs to grow up, needs to start understanding what we actually do, and needs to start understanding that this is a very serious industry, because we're playing with people's health. We're not playing with people, we're playing with people's health.